A year ago, writing was a skill. Now anyone can type one sentence into a box and get 1,000 words back in 4 seconds. So if the words themselves are basically free now, what exactly is a client still paying you for? That is the question quietly ending careers this year. And answering it wrong is the only real danger you face. Let me say the part nobody wants to say out loud. AI did not replace copywriters. It replaced one very specific kind of copywriter. It replaced the person whose entire offer was turning a brief into words. Type request, receive paragraphs, send invoice. If that was the whole job, then yes, a machine now does it for nothing. But that was never the whole job. It only felt like it was because that was the part clients could see. Think about what actually went wrong on your worst project. Was it that you could not find the words? Almost never. It was the brief that changed 3 times. It was the client who said, make it pop, and then could not say what pop meant. It was the 4th round of revisions you never agreed to. It was the invoice that sat unpaid for 2 months while you were too polite to chase it. None of that is a writing problem. All of it is a business problem. And not one of those problems has been solved by AI. If anything, they just got worse. Here is the strange thing happening in the market right now. Clients can generate a first draft themselves. They do not need you for the blank page anymore. So what are they actually buying when they come to a professional? They are buying judgment. They are buying someone who decides what to say, not just someone who says it. They are buying the person who pushes back and says that headline is wrong. Here is why. Here is the one that works. The machine will give them a confident answer to every question. You are the one who knows which answer is correct. That is not a smaller job than before. It is a bigger one. But judgment on its own does not pay you. This is where most freelancers are losing right now. And they think it is an AI problem when it is not. Picture 2 copywriters, same skill, same taste, same good ideas. The first one works from a contract they cobbled together off Google years ago. No revision limit, no kill fee, no clause about who owns the work. They quote off a 2-line email and start writing immediately. The second one sends a proper brief before a word is written, works to a contract that caps revisions and protects payment, and invoices on a schedule the client agreed to upfront. Which one survives a hard year? It is not the better writer. It is the one who runs like a business. Let me give you something most freelancers genuinely do not know because it changes how you see your own work. In the UK, under the Copyright, Designs and Patents Act 1988, the person who creates a piece of writing is the first owner of the copyright in it, not the person who paid for it, you. That right only passes to the client if you assign it to them in writing. So if you are working without a contract that transfers usage and ownership, here is the uncomfortable truth. Either you are handing over rights you never agreed to hand over, or your client is using work they do not actually own. One missing clause, and both of you are exposed. A machine will never warn you about that. It cannot. It does not know whose name is on the work. Now think about getting paid, because this is where being a freelancer stops feeling like a job and starts feeling like a punishment. You finish the work, you send the invoice, and then nothing. Days, then weeks. And because no late fee was ever agreed, you have no leverage. So you wait and you resent it and you take on the next underpriced job because you need the cash the last one never sent. Sound familiar? Here is what almost nobody tells you. In the UK, under the Late Payment of Commercial Debts Act, you have a legal right to charge interest on a late commercial invoice. Statutory interest of 8% above the Bank of England base rate, plus a fixed compensation sum on top, £40, £70 or £100 depending on the size of the debt. That right exists whether or not it is written into your contract. But here is the difference. When it is written into your contract and your client signed it, you are not begging anymore. You are enforcing an agreement they accepted. The words did not change. Your position did. Do you see the pattern forming? Every single thing that is keeping freelancers safe right now sits outside the writing itself. The contract, the brief, the invoice, the boundaries, the process, that is the work AI cannot touch because it was never made of words in the first place. It is made of structure. Let me talk about the brief because this is the quiet one that decides everything. Scope creep does not arrive as a disaster. It arrives politely. Could you just tweak this? While you are in there, could you also, actually, the client wants a slightly different angle now. Each request is small. None of them feels worth a fight. And then you look up and you have done double the work for the original fee. And you are angry at a client who genuinely does not realize what they did because you never drew the line. A real brief draws the line before the work starts. It makes the client tell you what they want, who it is for, what done looks like in writing. While everyone is still calm and reasonable, the machine can write the campaign. It cannot make your client agree to what they are actually asking for. Only a document you send before you start can do that. And revisions. Be honest. How many of your projects quietly turned into unlimited free rewriting because round 4 felt awkward to refuse? Unpaid revisions are not generosity. They are the single fastest way to turn a fair rate into minimum wage without noticing. A contract that says 3 rounds, then it is chargeable, is not you being difficult. It is you being a professional, and it is the only thing standing between your time and a client's indecision. Now let us talk about money, because the AI panic is making freelancers do the worst possible thing. They are dropping their rates to compete with a machine that charges nothing. Think about that for a second. You cannot win a race to the bottom against something that works for free. The moment you compete on price, you have already lost because the machine will always be cheaper than you. So stop competing where you cannot win. The client paying the lowest price was never your client anyway. They were always going to leave the second something cheaper arrived, and now it has. Your client is the one who has tried the free version, watched it produce something confident and generic and slightly wrong, and realized that they need a person who knows the difference. That client is not looking for cheap. They are looking for safe. And safe is not a discount. Safe is a contract, a brief, a clear process, and someone who has done this before. You were probably never underpaid because your writing was poor. You were underpaid because nothing around your writing told the client they were dealing with a professional. The machine just made that gap impossible to hide. Picture those 2 copywriters again a year from now. The first one is still chasing cheap jobs, still doing free revisions, still waiting on invoices, and now genuinely afraid because the only thing they ever sold was words, and the words are free. The second one barely thinks about AI. Their clients come for judgment, sign a contract, fill in a brief, and pay on time because the whole relationship was built to work that way from the first email. Same talent, completely different year. The difference was never the writing, it was the structure around it. So let me put the whole picture together, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. The freelancers panicking right now are panicking because they think their product was words. It never was. Words were just the visible tip of it. Your real product is reliability. It is a client who knows exactly what they are getting, knows what it costs, knows when it is due, knows who owns it at the end, and never has to wonder, because every one of those things was agreed in writing before you started. AI made words cheap. It made all of that more valuable than it has ever been. The work did not disappear. It just moved to the part of the job you were probably ignoring. And here is the honest problem. Most freelancers know all of this and still do nothing about it because building it from scratch is miserable. Writing a contract you can actually rely on. A brief that genuinely stops scope creep. An invoice with the right late payment language. An onboarding process that trains clients to give useful feedback instead of make it pop. That is days of work. And it is not the work you got into this for. So it never gets done and you stay exposed and you blame the machine. That is the exact gap I built the JR Former Freelance Copywriter Kit to close. It is 5 documents made specifically for copywriters, not a generic freelancer template with the word copywriter dropped in. A client contract that covers revision rounds, kill fees, IP and usage rights, rush fees, and late payment with a checklist so you never send it half filled in. A project brief that kills scope creep before the first word. An invoice template covering deposits, balances, rush fees, kill fees, and overdue clients with the late payment process built in. A welcome and onboarding guide with a feedback framework that teaches clients how to actually help you. And a start here guide so you are set up in an afternoon, not a month. It is the business that sits around your writing. the part the machine cannot do for you, done for you. Because you do not need to out-type a machine. You will not, and you do not have to. You need to be the professional the machine can never be. The one with judgment and boundaries and a contract behind every word. The writing was always the easy part. It is everything around the writing that decides whether you have a career a year from now. So let me ask you again, now that you have the whole answer, if the words are free, what is a client paying you for? They are paying you for the one thing they still cannot generate. Someone they can trust to run the job properly from the first email to the final invoice. The machine got the words. You keep everything that actually mattered.